Good morning, everyone. This is Melanie Wagner, Development Director, here at Meals on Wheels with a very special Friday update. We have our good friend Zach Grant here today with the July 8th project. Good morning, Zach. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Wonderful. We are so glad you're here today. Right before we came on camera, you were telling us that you have just come off of a little bit of a road trip even early this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
From Auburn, Alabama. So we're so glad you're here today.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what is the July 8th project?
Yeah, so the July 8th Project is a nonprofit I founded back in 2020. The first organization we ever worked with was Meals on Wheels here in Anderson, which was pretty awesome. But it's an organization I founded in remembrance of my mother who passed away from suicide in 2004. I started it in 2020 because there was a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. My dad had recently lost a job, and I was kind of working full time, and I was originally working with Clemson. We weren't working, and so there was all of this just sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing a lot of pain in my community and around the people that I loved and I cared about, and so it was very tough. And so all of that pain and the upcoming anniversary of my mother's suicide, it was too much for me. And so I was like, what is a way I can turn this negative day that usually was something I just spent almost doing nothing, just incredibly upset. Mm-hmm. How can I turn it into something positive? And so I decided, what's the best way, the positive thing that I've done is volunteer work. My dad gave me a lot of experience with volunteer work as I was growing up. He's a pastor in the local area, so I'd done it a lot. And I was like, this is the greatest I ever feel. So how do I, take this negative energy and turn it into something positive? Mm-hmm. And so in 2020, I put out a schedule. We worked with a bunch of organizations. Meals on Wheels in Anderson was our first one. And then there was the Children's Home in Clemson. That was a fantastic organization. The Blood Donation Center in Seneca, South Carolina. We did a couple of shut-ins around the area, helped out doing yard work. We built a patio for somebody. We did a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was a way, I put the schedule out online, and I kind of mentioned it to my friends or something, but I was like, hey, I'm going to do this, and if you want to join me, you can join me. And then I had a huge outpour from the community that I never expected. Wow. Much larger than I had ever expected, and they just all showed up right during COVID, right during a really hard time for all of us, and decided to work. And so from there, we've done a lot of work in the community and around, and I really have loved it, and I can't stop.
That is amazing. So you've shared some of the other nonprofits and charities that you've worked with.
Yes.
And it sounds like this year, the July 8th project expanded a little bit. Can you share that with us? Because you're a student now at Auburn, correct?
Yes. So I'm at Auburn University. I work with Warrior Productions, which is a great group of people down there. I worked here at Clemson Video when I was working here. Decided to go to Auburn to work with that group. And so they kind of brought me down. It was a fantastic opportunity for me. Moved to Auburn, and I've lived there full time. I don't really get to be the experience of a part-time college student. If I'm going to move somewhere, I'm going to live there. Uh-huh. And so I'm going to participate in the community there. And so, like I did here, so since I've been there, I've been volunteering all throughout the year. And then this year I decided with the July 8th Project, I was going to volunteer on the 7th in the Auburn, Opelika, Montgomery area. So we worked with the Food Bank of East Alabama, which is in Auburn, Keep Opelika Beautiful, which is a large organization in Opelika, and then we went to Montgomery and worked at the Montgomery Boys and Girls Home. So we were there all around that area, and then I left this morning at 4 a.m. to come up to Clemson, and then work back in my hometown area. So.
We love it, and we just, I just feel so humbled to think that Meals on Wheels Anderson was your first charity that you ever were able to give back to with the July 8th project. We are just, I'm almost speechless to be thinking of all that you've done and how you've just taken a situation and just turned it into something that's really going to change the world. I mean,
hopefully, yeah.
I just believe that. I believe that. So you are obviously a young man, and you have decided that giving back is something that's very important. What could you say today to your peers who be watching throughout the social media platforms where we send this? Yeah. What could you say today to encourage them to give back and be involved on a regular basis?
Absolutely. So a great example, just with our own organization, we have a lot of first-time volunteers. So back in 2020, if we go back again to our first event, we had, I think, about 60 people throughout the day, and 42 of those, if I remember correctly, 42 were first-time volunteers.
Okay.
And so a lot of them have gone back and done so since, and has really started a lifetime of volunteering. There's been other stuff. We coached 3 rec teams in the area. When we were coaching those rec teams, a lot of those people involved were first-time volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were close friends. Some people I didn't hardly know, and they had become first-time volunteers. For the kids that we coached on those rec teams, some of them have volunteered with us in other organizations with their families, and so it started. It's just kind of gives on and gives on and gives on. Last year, in 2021, I was in Colorado and I worked at a YMCA in Camp Santa Maria in Colorado. I wasn't going to let that stop the July 8th project. And so while in Colorado, in Denver and Boulder, I worked with a lot of camp counselors at that camp. They volunteered with me in the Denver and Boulder area. And I think all of them, we had 22 people, all of them first-time volunteers. And so it's just like a slow, they're all in their 20s. Right now, I mean, it's 9:20 in the morning, and my volunteers are still waking up. And so it's the ability to be like, hey, this is a flexible thing. A lot of younger people get intimidated with, first-time volunteering. It seems difficult, it seems hard, it seems scary. It's a lot of times volunteering seems to be not an older thing to do, but it's an older crowd that you're working with, and so people are intimidated by that. And it's a way to be like, no, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's one of the most fun, fulfilling things you can do. Yesterday, with I had 3 people, I think, that were first-time volunteers with us, and they stopped and they were like, one of the guys stopped in the middle of a shift. We were doing at the food bank of East Alabama, stopped in the middle of a shift, and he's like, this is it feels really good. And it was an honest answer, but it truly does. And so it's fulfilling in your heart, and it's something that, you start when you're young, and it's something you'll do the rest of your life.
Yes. So even though your peers are young, you're saying just take that first step.
Yes,
and
no matter what it is.
And I imagine even just a little bit of give back gives you so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what a delight, and I wish you all the best with your future. And the July 8th project, I know, is changing a lot of lives and making a huge difference. So again, we appreciate you being a part of this today and letting Meals on Wheels be your first stop back in South Carolina.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hope it's a successful day for you. Can you just real quickly before we close out, where else will you be today?
Okay, so we will be Meals on Wheels in Anderson. We will be at the Ronald McDonald House in Greenville, Project Host Soup Kitchen in Greenville, and then we are doing letters and lunch. So that's the thing that we do every year. That's a pretty cool thing where we'll sit down, eat lunch, and then we'll write a bunch of letters to different assisted livings in the area. And so that's fostered a lot of cool relationships with people because they've been able to keep letters going over years and years and keep relationships going. So that's been pretty cool. We'll be doing that, and then I'm trying to remember. I think that's everything. And then again, we worked with a bunch of stuff, Auburn, Opelika, Montgomery. So I think our total is 12 organizations this year.
That's amazing.
And then we've got, right now, we're currently sitting at $1,500 for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention of Alabama and South Carolina. So we're going to split those proceeds, and all of it's half and half. Half to American Foundation of Suicide Prevention of South Carolina, half to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention of South Carolina. And that's all through our t-shirt sales and donations. So it's a fun thing.
And it's the July 8th project.org?
Yes.
Is that how people can find you?
Yes, July8thproject.org. There you will find the t-shirt drive, the donation drive, and you can choose to donate, you can choose to buy a t-shirt, you can do whatever you feel comfortable with. We're all about flexibility and being able to just take that first step.
Zach, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for taking a minute to listen today and hear Zach's story and a little more about the July 8th project. Again, we appreciate all that you do to give back. You support Meals on Wheels. We know that you have a heart for giving. So thank you for all that you do for the community. Zach, thank you all for all you do for the community.
Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate all of you. Have a great weekend and God bless you.